Yeah, you could just move on to Ansu. Do you have anything specific in mind? Just
Well, he's very
just
good.
oh, he's got oh yeah, I think we
He's
can all
very
agree
good.
on
I mean,
that. Yeah.
yeah, let's set the stage that way. I mean, there are Sam Martin has some notes that I want to get over, but with
Mm,
Ansu, it's impossible to understand. He's not a perfect player. He's still
mm,
young, but I'm really excited, and I think the feeling you get yesterday when he scores the goal, especially again, it's a scuff shot.
mm.
I was corrected; it was not deflected. I thought it was deflected, but it was just a scuff shot. Finds the
Yeah.
back of the net. And Xavi came out in his press conference today and said that it was a spot where he took that shot from was a
Mm,
spot that Xavi and Ansu together had discussed as a weakness or a hole that Real Betis defense was
mm,
going to have. So the minute he went on the field with the instruction of exactly where to receive the ball, Ansu did it, and Ansu converted one of his two chances yesterday.
mm,
And again, while he's not a perfect player, if he stays on the field, the team is better when he is on the field. He attracts attention. He's clinical. And it's this thing where every time he comes back from these long-term injuries, things happen, whether he comes
mm,
back after a month, whether it was 3 months, whether it was 4 months, whatever it was, he's a difference maker. And
mm.
just like Messi, I'm enjoying the fact that Pedri to a point when he really had that good stretch for 2 months, I'm enjoying the fact that I don't have words. I don't have vocabulary. I don't have the hyperbole because especially at 19, we're going to run out of it because Ansu, if he's able to play, he's going to do this over and over and over and over again. He just understands space. He understands where to be. He's dangerous starting on the left wing because he attracts attention that way and opens up space for others. And then the minute he gets in the box, they also have to have 2 or 3 guys on him and they have to be physical with him. But he also is going to draw fouls. He's the most fouled per minute player. Well, he's a blah per minute player in the Liga and quite a lot of categories, obviously, because of just the
Yeah.
impact he's had in the limited amount of time he's on the field.
Yeah. I think that about sums it up. I think Ansu is just he has this gravity that you talked about. Not many players have the gravity. I mean, some do, like moderately. Usually players will attract one defender, as you said, but there are some special players like Messi would always attract 2, 3, 4 players, and that not only does that put that player under a spotlight, but it also opens up space on the other side of the pitch. That's the main thing. That's how Messi does his thing, because he attracts so many players on one side and then pockets open up, and you have to be a special player to be able to escape that pressure first and then deploy the passes. And I feel
Well,
like Ansu,
yeah,
yeah,
to not Messi, I want to add the caveat that it took a little bit of time. So some of Messi's greatest highlights, I mean, look at when he destroyed Hadafe, right? And he has long hair and he's young Messi.
yeah, yeah,
That was a time period where Messi was still only drawing 1.5 players, where everyone was still more worried about the legend that was Thierry Henry at Arsenal and Ronaldinho and Samuel Eto'o. And they were more concerned about those players and not so concerned about this little Argentinian kid. So he drew one. And then all of a sudden, I mean, that's why so many of those highlights exist from that
yeah.
era, because they thought they could do 1v1 against this kid. And then all of a
Mm,
sudden, it was no longer the case.
yeah.
2007 hit, 2008 hit, and they were starting to learn their lesson. And even with Ansu, he's now already been around for 3 years, and teams are going to have to relearn that lesson that you cannot put just one on him.
Yeah, yeah. The thing is with Ansu, he doesn't have that leisure. I mean, people already know that this is Ansu Fati. We need to mark him. We need to mark him hard. And I feel like that makes all of this that much more impressive, because he knows that he has a target on his back, and still he creates separation just like that. Like an elite striker, he creates separation. He can exploit the blind spots. He can run into space. He can receive ball under pressure. He has all the traits to be like a lethal finisher. And just to do all of that, coming from injuries and always having instant impact, that's unheard of. I mean, he's not supposed to be that good at that age, and with those injury woes as well, that's just not supposed to happen. Same with Pedri. Those two players, they have no right to be as good as they are at the age they are at, and the stage of their development as well. And just a thing that Fati he can improve, he will improve, he must improve. I'm really excited to think about it, how good he can get, and we'll see if Xavi is really serious about deploying him as a number 9, because he talked about that. And then he said that Ansu feels more comfortable on the left side, which I get, because you're coming back from an injury. You don't really want to experiment too much with an unknown. Well, it's not really an unknown position, but it's still at a much higher level. He played as a striker in the academy, right? So he knows how to do it, and he's not totally unfamiliar with it, but still to be playing in that new role, it's called a new role at this level, coming back from injury, it cannot really be comfortable for him. So I get why Xavi put him back on the left. And there's also more the things that he does on the left side He's comfortable with it, and he gets more space. He's not as heavily marked. He has that leisure of a winger, as opposed to being a striker, which comes with different challenges, different constraints. You're always more tightly marked. You're not operating in as much space as a left winger might operate, and it's a totally different world. But Ansu has all the traits of a lethal forward, like a center forward, a striker. And I've talked about that. I've written about that a lot because I was looking at some of the elite responsibilities or traits that a striker must have to excel in that position. And Ansu ticks almost all the boxes, even down to the physicality part. He's not big, but he can still hold his own. He can still out-muscle defenders. He can still hold his ground when he's being heavily marked, which is very important. And his back to goal play is also decent, which is something that he needs to work on, but still decent. And I feel like he has the tools. If Xavi wants him to transition to a striker role, he could do it, just because his repertoire is as wide, as versatile as it is. And I'm really looking forward to that and seeing how he develops.
Well, it's a must that he finishes the season healthy and has a full preseason with Xavi. That is, I think, as far as the things that I want for the offseason, obviously we've talked about our wish list. And sometimes I wake up and go, dreaming of Tchouaméni, and then I wake up and reality hits and I understand the nature of that there is no one coming. But on the case of Ansu's position, it is interesting to me because you're right, like future, and whether it's a year or two or even in the fall, Xavi, his comments today are really, really telling, because it sounds very collaborative, that they want to keep Ansu healthy. They wanted him to feel comfortable in the 15 minutes or 10 minutes he was on the field. And so Xavi said, and this is the quote, he told me best to play him wide. I told him he could switch with Abu or Aubameyang, but he wanted to be on the left. He's always a danger coming inside. He gets two chances, scores one, the other is dangerous. He's comfortable around the box. It's a gift. And so it sounds like Xavi already knows where he wants Ansu to be. And Xavi's right about that. I mean, where do you put your most clinical finisher? Where do you put the guy that attracts the most attention? You put him as close to goal as humanly possible. Exactly. So that means everybody else is wide open around the penalty box and everybody else has more space to operate in. So you put the guy that has the greatest gravity in the most dangerous spot on the field. That makes a lot of sense. Xavi's pragmatic in that way. But the fact that he worked with Ansu and Ansu was comfortable coming on the left, and still Barcelona get a result because Ansu comes on the field. And Marc Bartra had the equalizer, of course. Ansu's goal probably could have been the winner if Barca knew how to defend set pieces, but instead they have to get the winner. But either way, that game was 0-0. It could have ended 0-0. And it's interesting because it was a well-played 0-0 game. And Ansu making his debut all those years ago against Real Betis, there's something to Real Betis, as well as, characterizing them as one of Barca's friends, not foes, even though, the tackles from Guardado over the years, and, this is me just was pointing out the Mexican player with the hard tackles, of course, as a U.S. men's national team man will do. But then William Carvalho, I mean, he deserved 9 yellows in that game, never a red, but 9 different soft yellows, right? In his time once he came off the bench. But there's something, there's an unseriousness to the Real Betis match where Real Betis it just doesn't seem as there's as much vitriol. It doesn't seem there's as much frustration. I feel like they also leave because they want to attack and they want to play a very similar style to Barca. That even though Barca had 58% of the possession, the times when Real Betis were dangerous, they were dangerous with the ball. They were dangerous in possession, the same way that Barca can be dangerous. And I feel like Barcelona are always comfortable against Real Betis. There's never a moment when it's over, unlike with Cadiz and Rayo, when you're like, we're never going to get through. It's never going to happen. You're just never going to break that down. Real Betis always going to give you opportunities, at least Barca, to break them down in that way. Now, the stats I want to give you for Ansu, this is, again, directly from our friend from Siempre Positivo, Sam Marsden. Despite having 3 different injuries this season, Ansu has still managed 6 goals in 5 appearances, 5 of them being starts. That's a goal every 81 minutes. And he's played 486 minutes this season across those 3 different times when he wasn't injured. And he's averaged 1.1 goals per 90 minutes, scoring 6 goals with a season expected goals of 2.02 per match, and just 9 shots on target in total. Again, 9 shots on target in total, 6 goals, right? And so that is the definition of clinical. I mean, there's nobody with those numbers, and he hasn't played. There's not a large enough sample size to go crazy about this, right? Like that's why you'll see whether it's goal.com or there was another list that Spanish journalist came out with today, those all the teenager ones, all the 2003, 04, 05 birthdays, right? The really young ones, 17, 18, 19. And a lot of their per minute stuff is off the charts, right? Because they only played, they'll get 6 minutes here and they'll score a goal. Exactly. That's why they're, a high prospect. But his numbers are scary because obviously they're going to go down once he plays more minutes, like once he plays, hopefully 35 to 45, even 50 games next season, they will go down. But just that little small sample size tells you how terrifying even him at 70% was. And I keep saying, right, the whole thing about Ansu is, can he stay healthy? And even Ansu working his way back, even Ansu not at 100%. And even if this 70% of what Ansu could have been is his 100%, even at this level, my goodness, like that's what I have. Like, I mean, I will worry about breaking him apart and breaking him down and saying what he doesn't do well in the way that we've done to Gabi this year, in the way that we have to do Pedri at times, the way that we've definitely done to Nico, certainly, right? Like these young players, we're waiting for them to play long enough to criticize them, but Ansu hasn't even done that this year because the minute I go to criticize him, he's scoring a goal and then he's injured again. And that just, it's been the cycle over and over and over again this season.
Yeah, it is kind of cruel. I mean, injuries are terrible for any player, but someone of Ansu's talent, it feels like we're getting robbed of something, something great, of greatness, because he could go on and be such a magical player. He already is a magical player, and that's in itself is already such an achievement because he's 19 years old, and we have to keep that in mind. And also, as you said, people need to know that this is not really a sustainable rate of scoring goals. It will definitely go down. And the thing is, it will go down, but I'm not expecting it to go down significantly. Of course, it won't really be this crazy rate of scoring, but it will be high because Ansu, what he has is, it's not luck. It's just this innate, it's just smell eye for goal. He smells danger. He knows how to move. He moves well, and then he has great ball striking technique. He's lethal, and I feel like with those combination of traits, he is guaranteed to score goals. Now, how many goals he can score, we'll see on a larger sample, because we don't know at this point. We don't know what his ceiling is. We don't even know what his floor is. I mean, this what we're seeing. It's not 100%. You've seen when the first game he came back, you saw him that he was strolling across the pitch. He wasn't really going 100%, and that's good. That's commendable because he's also aware that he needs to take it slow, and Xavi is aware of that, and that's crucial because if we just throw him into the fire, who knows what might happen? He might get injured again, and then what happens? And then for a young player to get constantly injured, it's a physical toll, but it's also a mental toll because we're not sure how well he can take those injuries, not just his body, but his mind. But as long as he stays healthy, he is guaranteed to score goals. I think that we can all agree on that. I mean, it's a bit crazy to say that about a 19-year-old, that he's guaranteed to score goals, but he really is, because the things that he has in his arsenal and his toolkit, those things are just, they're special, and they're things that they don't go away. You can be in bad form, you can be injured, you can be, I don't know, having a bad game, but you always have that. It's like with Luis Suarez, for example. He would have a stinker of a game, 90 minutes, or Cristiano Ronaldo, same thing. Stinker of a game, 90 minutes does nothing. And then when he gets that one chance, that one opportunity in front of goal, he will put it away like 10 out of 10 times, despite the form, despite the age, despite the whatever is happening around him. And I feel like Ansu has that innate, has that in him to be able to make a difference for Barcelona. I talked about that as well. It's like having Ansu Fati, even at 70%, as you said, or 50%, makes such a difference to Barcelona's season that next season we can be so much more competitive just because of one player, and that's him. That's Ansu Fati. And then we add more depth, and we add more players that patch up the squad a bit. And I feel like Barca, well, we're not going to be competitive in Europe. That's not what I'm saying. But domestically, we can and we should be competitive.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's part of the goal of next season. But as I said on the show earlier, where if you're competitive for the Liga trophy, I mean, it's so random in the Champions League. And again, that was the argument that I'm going to reiterate again, that I think Ansu has that extra little bit. Like in the Champions League, you need difference makers. And Ansu has clearly shown with the advanced metrics I just told you, like if he's even again, 80%. If he keeps his goals per 90 or expected goals per 90 at like 1.80 or something. I mean, expected goals are kind of, credit to Vic from the Houston Kool-Aid is kind of calling me out on don't put too much in expected goals. But I mean, if he does score, he's at 1.11 per 90 right now. Even if he stays at 0.96 or something like that, goals per 90, Barcelona clearly has a chance in the Champions League, right? Because that tells you that over the course of two matches, over the course of a tie, he's going to get at least one, guaranteed. And it's likely that he'll get two in the course of a tie. And can Barcelona defend for their lives?